Right, people, welcome to this extraordinary meeting of the Council, and we will start as usual with our karakia. Thank you. Conflicts of interest. Do we have any conflicts of interest? No conflict of interest. Apologies. I have no apologies. Reports, items, late items, no late items. Go straight to reports for decision on page number 5. Transport Choices Cycleway Project, Lansdowne and Kurupuni. East Side Link Cycleway detailed design, and I'd ask Laura to come up and present the report.
Hello, I'm joined by Luke from CF Projects, and on the call you can see her there is Catherine King. She's the Urban Mobility Manager at Wakakatahi. She'll be able to answer any questions that you may have of Wakakatahi, and I will just introduce the paper. So I'll take the paper as read, but I will point out, so the route that has been put forward in this design is the path that was directed by Council last month. We did speak to Wakakatahi about the use of the rec trails around the back of the netball courts. They're very supportive of the use, but they're not part of the Transport Choices funding for this project. We have spoken to schools. We've had no feedback from a couple, and some feedback from others, which we've reflected where possible in the paper. Following the council meeting last month, we did a flyer drop to all of the households along the Kurupuni, Makota, Johnson, Colombo Road new route to indicate the route that we were looking to progress. We did have a small number of feedback as a result of that, which has been reflected in the paper. The key aspects of this detailed design are it is off-road. On the screen you should have copies. You will have seen it in the report, but it's off-road outside the netball courts on the shared footpath up to Church Street. It pops back onto the road as a bi-directional cycleway on Colombo, and then round the corner to Johnson, where it crosses the road down to Makota. Makota is quite a low volume road in terms of traffic, but it has got higher speeds. What we have proposed there is on-road cycleways that are painted on either side of the road that will retain those car parks on that road, but we are proposing introducing traffic calming measures down that road to slow the cars down. That's the use of speed cushions and humps to slow them down. And then from Kurupuni, from Colombo Road, Kurupuni Street up to the Kurupuni shops, would be an on-road bi-directional cycleway with crossing point to allow students travelling to Chanel College to get across the road through the back entrance. This decision can't be delayed any further. We have reached a point where we need to meet the 29th September Wakakatahi milestone for detailed design. So that is all I've got to say.
Thank you, Laura. All right, any questions for Laura? It's just question time now. Councillor Bayer.
Hello. Yeah.
No.
I live at Makora Road.
No, I'm sorry, sir.
Sorry, all right.
The public can't say anything at this meeting, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Councillor Bayer.
Thank you, Careful. Thank you for your report. I notice we're having a bi-directional on Kurupuni Street. Is there no way for us to have that as we're having down Makora Road with them on either side, so instead of just that bi-directional? Might be wonderful.
I can talk to that. Yeah, we did look at that as an option, and obviously getting that to work down Makora Road, the key driver is safety, and Makora Road, as Laura said, has a much lower traffic volume, particularly with the heavies. To get that to work, we have to narrow the traffic lanes significantly, but because we have such low volumes on Makora Road, we believe we can do that safely without impacting on the traffic flows. If we were to do the same thing on Kurapuni Street, the reduction in those lanes, combined with the higher traffic volumes and the higher volume of heavy vehicles using that road, it would make that road quite unsafe. We'd simply just have not enough width within the corridor to provide the cycleways and two safe wide lanes. So that's what pushed us to keeping the bi-directional on-road as a safety mechanism for both the cyclists and the vehicles on the road. But it was considered, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Lennox and Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Laura. Just in regards to the existing crossing on Johnson Street, will that remain as well as a new crossing, or does that get taken away entirely?
No, so in the current design, it would be retained.
Yeah.
We appreciate that that's two crossings relatively close together.
Yeah.
So there's some work that we would need to do in consultation with the schools around there about whether or not it would be worthwhile moving that down slightly.
So just in regards to that new crossing, is there no way it can just blend in with the existing?
The location of the new crossing has been positioned to stagger between the two side roads. If we were to extend down to the existing crossing, we'd have to get across the side road, I think the name of the one.
Clyde Street.
Clyde Street, yeah, and it would be another crossing for the cyclists to get across. So this is the most direct and efficient way to get them from point to point.
Okay.
Councillor Johnson.
Thanks for your report. One of the points you mentioned was traffic calming infrastructure. Is that a Waka Kotahi funded infrastructure, or is that a council cost?
That's all part of the project cost.
Thank you.
Any further questions? If there's no further questions, is somebody prepared to move the recommendations on page number 6? Councillor Nelson, seconded. Councillor Helena. Okay, we're open for discussion. Councillor Lennox.
Sorry, I missed my opportunity for a final question.
Yes, you can ask a question and as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what considerations have been taken, I guess, from a stormwater, wastewater perspective, where we know that the infrastructure underneath these roads may or may not be compromised, but may also need work. So have we talked amongst ourselves in regards to what that future looks like for underground works versus where this is going to sit on top of that? My concern is that if we run with this project, we're going to put in this fantastic cycleway, and then in however many years or months' time we need to start digging up the road to fix bits. Something to that?
Kind of a question.
I believe the main street Johnson has its sewer and water replaced, so there would be no major works there. Colombo's had water replaced as well recently, but they're only plastic separating blocks, so they can be removed and put back down. They shouldn't interfere with major works. It would just be the raised crossings that you might have to maybe 10, 16 years down track dig up and then replace, so it wouldn't be a major.
Oh, excellent, cool. So the bits actually pop up, sort of like
They're attached by a road, just quite into the road, so
So
they
it's
can pop up and they're not,
Okay, cool. So that's good. Thank you. Yep.
You wanted to have a discussion part on?
No, that was it.
Okay, open for discussion. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, the question I'd ask is, would we be progressing with this if it wasn't funded? In 2017, we initiated a cycling strategy, and one of the main reasons for that was so that we could then move on to the 5 towns trail discussion, which was a cycling plan. Since then, our cycling strategy is kind of laid dormant and hasn't progressed any further. But to me, if we had to pay for this ourselves and fund the project, would we be doing it? And my response to that would most likely no. So it's a bit like selling your mother. If you're offered money, would you sell her? To me, we're being offered money to do this, but is it actually something that we've thought about doing, wanted to do, and is in a plan for what we would be doing? And of course, there will be some cost to council. So I'd just like to say I'm not against cycleways, but I feel that we're doing this for the sake of doing it. And I just wanted to mention some points, which is one, the road is wide enough for vehicles and bikes, the roads that we're talking about. There will be residents that will be inconvenienced because of the loss of off-street parking. It's already been said twice this morning that they're not busy roads anyway. And I think kids have their own will, and if they want a bike, they'll go whatever way they want, and not necessarily use the cycleway because bureaucrats have told them that that's what they should be using. So just want to stress I'm not against cycleways, but I think we're doing the action before we've done the plan and the strategy. And in fact, what I would like to do is re-energise and revitalise our cycling strategy from 2017, because at least then we'll have a plan, and when we get an opportunity, we'll say, does it fit with our plan, rather than just taking the chocolate fish because it's been offered to us.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Nelson?
Thanks. I've just lost my voice, so just bear with me.
That's right.
Just thank you for your report. You guys went away, you've done everything we asked you to do. You've come back with a different plan that has taken into account the people with shops and businesses on Colombo Road. You've come up with a strategy to get past the netball course that goes on the footpath to get that safer. Down Makota Road, which is the very quiet one that I drive down quite often. I also know that's one where people speed a lot. A friend of mine lives in that street and he wanted traffic calming measures put in there, and that's been put in there, so you put a measure in to alleviate another problem as well. You've taken into account the Herbert Street issue with the business, the hotel, and with the schools. I think you've done everything we've asked you to do, and I think this is instead of just another plan that goes nowhere, like obviously the cycling plan didn't. This is something that's starting, it's going to be tangible. It's linking one, Lakeview, Kura, Makota, and potentially even MPS sooner or later as well. So I support everything that has been.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Anybody else? Councillor Helena?
Yeah, I really just want to stand and echo Councillor Nelson's comments. First, I want to thank Laura and her team. There was quite a bit of pushback initially, and I understand that led to a lot of extra work. But thank you for you and your team for doing the extra work. And as Councillor Nelson has said, it's addressed the significant issues that were raised on the first preferred route. There still will be some ratepayers, I guess, who will be impacted by not having a car park directly outside their property, but they are significantly reduced, and the feedback from all of those ratepayers or all of those properties has been insignificant. So given what's been addressed, it's linked to the schools, it will not impact on the businesses in Colombo Road or Herbert Street or the schools. It's a step in the right direction in terms of promoting cycling and reducing emissions. And you know, we need to be looking into those spaces where we are mitigating against climate change and pollution that driving our cars every moment of the day brings. And while we've got money to do this now, even though it might not fit into a big plan, I think we take the money, and it could be the first step or even just a trial to see where we go from here. I think there's a few more obstacles we need to remove before people, and particularly young people, readily get on bikes, and I think one of those, and you might sound strange coming from an ex-principal and a current principal, but if we got rid of the requirement for young men to wear helmets, I think we'd see a lot of young men and old men on their bikes. But anyway, that's just an aside. But I fully support the new initiative, and I just like to acknowledge Waka Kotahi for giving us this opportunity as well, and potentially leaving it to the 12th hour for us to make a decision. So yeah, I hope we support this today, because I think it's the way we need to go in terms of making our community healthier and reducing the risk to our climate. So thank you to your team.
Further discussion, councillor Lennox?
Yes, thank you. I echo both that's feedback on your report and the designs. Thank you. It's a great report. But what I'd like to just say is I feel that we're in a position to really start moving this cycle community and this way of thinking forward for Masterton, and I think it's a great opportunity that would be a shame to lose, to be honest. I think what the public needs to recognise as well is this cycleway isn't just painted lines on the side of a road, which is what we're used to and what we've got in town already. This is a purpose-built cycleway. The design features are somewhat different to just painted lines on a road. So for people that have been to Christchurch and other cities where these are in place, they can see that it's such a proper cycleway structure. So that's important. The fact that Kane, you just recognise that in regards to needing to do infrastructure work underneath the cycleway isn't a barrier from what you've described as around digging up roads and whatnot. That's eased my concern there a little bit. But yeah, I think the future needs to be the decision we make today, and that is, getting more people on bikes and actually starting this route and looking at the development on how further it can connect around our town. And I think we should all look at setting the step forward today. So thank you.
Councillor Holmes?
Yes, thank you for the report. I'd just like to echo Councillor Johnson's words, and I think she sums it all up. And I personally, I can't support this. I don't. I know it's not ratepayer money, but it's still our money, which is taxpayer money. And I just look around, I drive through town a lot, and we don't see a lot of cyclists on the road on the cycleways anyway. Councillor Peterson hammered for years about cycleways up Chapel Street and everywhere there. But, if I could see evidence of more people riding bikes, I probably would have supported this, but there's a lot of education at the moment. I think there's, I feel for a lot of the people on the routes, but yes, I just cannot support it.
Thank you, councillor Holmes. Councillor Goodwin?
Apologise for being a bit late. I just want to say that this is a risky project, building cycleways, and a lot of people feel unsure whether the cyclists will use them and grow in numbers. But what I like about this project is that we're not funding it, which takes that risk away and enables us to make a first step and see if we can make it work.
Thank you. Councillor Bowyer?
Again, thank you very much. And obviously, I am obviously not a cyclist, we can tell that. But I see, again, this is a first step. I'd like to see us, the ability to then link this in with Masterton Intermediate and come around to the colleges. It's a first step. I have some trepidation and misgivings possibly about the curb separators, but you've said they can be easily popped up if we find that they become an issue later on. Yeah, so all in all, I would support this.
Thank you. Councillor Tudor?
Thank you for the report. I will be supporting this report because even though I'm no longer a cyclist, I once was, and I enjoyed the freedom that cycling gave me when I was a child. I think that it's really great. Everything that we asked you probably, you did, and I think that, we supported this one.
Thank you, Councillor. From my own point of view, I must say that I've got very mixed feelings about it. I can see the points that Councillor Johnson and Councillor Holmes are making, but I can also see the points that the other councillors here have made. To me, the first question I've got on my mind, will it be used? And I guess until we have it, we don't know. The second point I would make is that whilst Waka Kotahi are providing the funding, I don't think, and I think Royal, would you say that there's no guarantee that we won't have to put some money to this?
We'll not be asking for more money.
Pardon?
We'll not be asking for more money. We'll either need to reduce the scope slightly, or we'll speak to Waka Katahi about any additional funding that may be available.
Okay, so the answer is that we're not at this stage looking to increase the funding, or that answers that question then. There's no doubt about it, you know, we've got a cycling strategy and we should be seen to be moving in that area. And the other thing that has come through clearly to me in the last couple of days is, particularly on Makura Road, is the need for calming measures there. That's a really big plus for people on Makura Road. It's going to certainly slow the traffic there. So whilst I've got mixed feelings, it could easily have voted either way. I think at the end of it I would probably vote for this. So I'm going to put the recommendation if there's no other discussion. Moved Councillor Nelson. Seconded Councillor Helena, the recommendations A, B, C, D, E and F on page 6. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against?
Yes.
The motion is carried. We now move on to page number 36, the Masterton District Licence. First of all, Laura and Waka Katahi, thank you very much for the work you put into that.
Thanks, Waka.
We now come into page 36, the Masterton District Licensing Committee 2002-2023 annual report. And Terry.
Morena.
Thanks, Terry.
As the report is read, the TA must report within 3 months of the end of the financial year about alcohol licensing practices. That's a statutory.
Okay, any questions for Terry? You got a question, Merriman? No? Any question? Somebody prepared to move the council receive the report? Oh, sorry, Councillor Lena.
I just know, thank you for your report, but I just know on page 38, item number 10, there's no response there. Please, the question is, please comment on the ways in which you believe the sale and supply of alcohol 2012 is or was not achieving its objective. And I just wondered if is that an oversight or...
We chose to remain neutral on that. We did have, as inspectors, some opinions, but they were not relevant to our area of work. So we chose not to make comment. We considered putting in about single sales in there, but thought it was more appropriate to go into number 11.
Thank you. Any further questions for Terry? No further questions? Well, I'll move the recommendation that we receive a copy of the annual report. Although, we've got a seconder. Seconded Councillor Nelson. Further discussion? Yes, Councillor Bayer.
Terry, thank you for the report. I think the licensing committee do an outstanding job. I think the detail and everything you've provided, we can see it's not just a tick boxing exercise. So yeah, thank you very much for the report. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Bayer. Any further discussion? Councillor Johnson, do you hand up?
No,
Okay. Okay, I'm putting the recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you, Terry. Thank you very much. Somebody move now that we move into public excluded. Move Councillor Johnson, second Councillor Bayer. All in favour? Aye. We've got no